Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's episode, we're going to tackle desoldering and resoldering some LEDs for my nav unit and my radio. So if you've been following me on my last couple episodes, my navigation unit, the digitizer or the touchscreen failed on me. So in the last episode, I took everything apart to change that digitizer. And since I have everything out, I decided to retackle a project that I did maybe like 10 or 11 years ago. So back then, I changed all those ugly green LEDs that come on the 2IS to a white and a blue setup to better match the gauge cluster and dash. You know, that setup looked awesome on the car over the years, but recently, my poor soldering job back then, using the soldering iron and the tools I had at the time, have started failing on me. So some of the LEDs have burnt out or the solder joints have failed. So I decided, since I'm going to resolder or desolder all this stuff anyways, I'm going to change things up a little bit. So today I'm going to show you guys how to take all these old LEDs out, put some new ones in, and change up the look of your dash. So stay tuned. So we're inside here. I did this upgrade probably like 11 or 12 years ago, where I changed all the green LEDs in this car to a white or a blue. If you could see here, it's kind of hard to catch in the video, but I did the little rings around the radio knobs all blue. Everything else I did in white. The problem back then was, it was probably like 2009, was the quality of LEDs was all over the place. Since the radio uses different LEDs than up here, I couldn't get the colors to match. So I had ordered some white LEDs, and the ones up here were a little bit warmer than the ones down here. It didn't kind of look right back then, because basically 5,000K and these are like 4,000K up here, and you can see the contrast. What I did was I kind of rigged it, because each one of these buttons up here used 3 LEDs, right? I put one blue LED in the middle and 2 white ones to kind of get the color a little bit better. It didn't end up looking too great, because it ended up looking like a purplish, and that's really hard to catch on camera. The purplish color in here, it just looks white on camera, but in real life it's kind of a purple colored, because I did that. And then some of the buttons, the blues failed on me, so it ended up being white, and then you got a blue one down here. What I'm going to end up doing today is just go ahead and the nav screen, all blue, because I ordered all brand new blue LEDs along with the climate control area. Down here on the radio, I'm just going to still keep it white with the blue knobs. I did lose a couple of LEDs over the years. If you can notice, the down button on here died, the LED died on me. I think it's on right now, so it kind of flickers on and off all the time. I think I messed up one of the traces, so I'm going to fix that so you can see it's blinking on and off. And the other down button over here died on me too, so I'm going to have to replace that one. I don't know if any of the other LEDs failed on me here. It's kind of hard to tell. So at the time I did all the LED changes, so I basically changed every LED in this car that was originally green over to white. So I changed all the window switches, I changed all the vents, the little lights up here in the vents. I added a light here in the cup holder to kind of match the one that's the inside cup holder here on the outside. I just added that with a radio LED. I changed all the LEDs in these switches down here. I changed the ones over here, and then this little button right here, and then the steering wheel buttons right here. So if you guys check out the description box below, I'll actually post all the part numbers and all the LEDs that you'll need and the quantities you'll need on all of them. Yeah, overall it was pretty tedious. It probably took me like a week or two of just doing one piece at a time overnight. I also did this, if you guys didn't notice, without the ghetto red button. I actually changed the illumination on here to white. It's usually blue, then I step on the brake to start it and it turns white. Usually I think it's orange and green when you have it in your car. Orange means you haven't stepped on the brake, and green means it's ready to go. I also changed the switches down here for my seat warmer and my seat vent. I think usually it's red and green, but I changed it to red and blue to match the other stuff. I changed the ones in the cigarette lighter. I did add the GS door handle mod right here. It was a pretty simple install mod. I had to run new wires through the doors to get that to light up. It's actually wired to the footwell lights. And then I also did, it's hard to, you can't even tell in this car because the seats are so low, but I actually got the lights, the footwell lights for under these seats, the driver and passenger seats, and I installed those on that same circuit right there. You know you're a madman when you keep these old LEDs around for the last 12 years or so. I found my shoebox of LED stuff. when I did this project, and I've got all my old LEDs that I had used. This is the new pack of 1206 LEDs that I just bought, the blue ones. Back then, I must have bought something from China that was came with a bunch of colors, because it looks like I have red, yellow, green, and white. I only used the white ones in this package. But yeah, if you look over here, I forgot what these were. These might be the PLCC, the ones I use on the steering wheel. And then I've got some more white LEDs. These are the ones, these are the 0603s for the radio. I think these are also 0603s in this package, which I think these might be the blue ones that I use for my radio knob. Here's the 3mm radios that I use for like the vents and all that, and this is the actual center vent. It's got like a pink diffuser that I didn't use. I took that out and then I rigged one of these 3mm to fit correctly. And then these are the bicolor LEDs that I ordered. I ordered 3 of them, but I only ended up using 2. I ended up not using the red and white ones. I used the blue and white for the start button, and then these are the red and blue, which I use for the seat warmers. Here's all the Neo bulbs that I use for the simple twist outs. So I had a couple extras here for spares when I ordered them back then, but here's the ones I took out of all those different switches around the dash. All right, before we get started, I'm gonna go over all the soldering tools I've got, and I've got a bunch of them. So this is my old school Radio Shack soldering tool I've been using for probably like 15 years. This thing was the one that originally did all the LED swaps for me. I actually took the tip out and I used my bulb to suck the old solder out when I'm desoldering. These are my new ones I bought on Amazon. This is just a regular one I bought like last year to do some other work with, and I haven't really used it since. It's just a little 60-watt one, and then I bought this little fancy one over here, which is like an air desoldering gun. So it actually blows air so you can actually desolder surface mount stuff. It's also got another plug, and it comes with a regular handle, soldering handle like this, that's like 90 watts or something. So if you needed a little bit high temperature or high power, you could plug it into that second slot and use it as a regular soldering iron too. So those are the tools I've got. And then this one came with this little sucker and the tweezers and everything to use, so I'm gonna really need those with these tiny ass LEDs. Other than that, I'm gonna start taking apart the climate control and the nav screen first, and we'll work on that first. So we'll go ahead and take apart the boards and start working on this. So the first thing you need to do is there's 3 ribbon cables. There's one that goes across here that you take off for the either side, and then there's one right here that connects to the middle one right there. So you want to start taking some of those off as you're taking it out. How you do that is you basically just slide the little retainer over, or you flip the retainer up. So yeah, so you flip the little metal retainer back here up, and you just pull it right out, and that takes that ribbon cable out, and then you just take apart the screws. All right, that's the third one right there. And we're completely out right now. So if you look closely at this board, so these were the LEDs, the ones in these little white spots that are the illumination for this. And so what I'm gonna do is I might just remove all of them, and I wanna replace everything with blue. If you see here on all this, on the sides, you actually replace all of them, including the ones in the white and the ones down here. But on the climate control has the backlit illumination, which is along the white, but then it also has those ones that are like little clusters of 3 and single ones. Those are actually the lights for the actual indicator when you switch between like recirculating, auto, and different modes. And I think they're all different colors. I believe they change colors depending on what mode you're in. So I'm not going to be touching those. I'm just going to be touching just the backlight. So we'll go ahead and try out this air. This might melt these LEDs, but I don't really want to keep them. You just want to make sure that you move it around so you don't damage anything or melt anything else like these switches. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man, this is freaking awesome. Oh, Beats the hell out of freaking desoldering with the other thing. Man, I needed this in my life a long time ago. Damn, this is clean as hell. I wish I had this tool like freaking 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I did this, because this took me literally like 2 or 3 minutes to take all these out. Back then, this probably took me over an hour to desolder this using traditional soldering iron and the little pump. Best $45 tool I've ever bought as far as electronics go, man. This is clean. What I'm gonna do after I do this, I'm gonna test all the contacts, make sure all my connections are working, because I know last time when I was pulling it out, I damaged some of the connections. I had to rig them with wire, but this time around, I should be able to clean it up now with this new tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of these. So I was testing the board to make sure I understood which direction everything went. So what you gotta look on the board is, when you look at it close, you're gonna see kind of a printed square, or not really a square, but just like a U, and one side's thicker than the other. So the thicker side is the ground, which is the cathode. So when you're testing it, I use my diode tester on my multimeter. You can either use the diode section or the continuity where it beeps, and then you touch on these particular LEDs, if you touch the green, the green side with the negative, and then the non-green side with the positive, it lights up, and that's how you test the diode to make sure it's working and your contacts are working. So the side that's thicker is going to be the cathode, which is the negative. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this, but that's how you test it with the multimeter. So I put a little retainer to kind of keep it from moving too much while I'm doing this. All right, that one got too hot. I destroyed that guy. Just lost one LED. Just got to heat it up, then get it on here fast so it doesn't destroy your LED. So this turned out pretty good, just for my first time trying to solder with that thing. I was able to basically lay them all down. I tested all the connections using the board, like the little holes in the board and opposite connections to make sure the solder joint was good. So they all lit up fine. What I'm going to do is, after I'm done with all these, I'm going to take the regular soldering iron. I'm probably just going to hit each one of the edges with a little bit more solder just to make sure that joint is nice and tight before I finish everything up and seal it up. So I got this baby's all soldered up, nice and clean. This air solder right here makes quick work of everything. I love that thing. All I had to do was heat it up for a couple seconds, melt the solder, and then just lay the LED right on top and let it dry up and melt in. Overall, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna hit it with this regular soldering iron right here. Make sure I get a nice, clean, solid solder and connection on all these LEDs so they don't fail on me. So I got these babies all cleaned up. For the most part, everything works. I tested it, and I also tested all the different nodes to make sure everything lit up, so this is good. Next thing I gotta do is fix those couple of LEDs that are burnt out on the radio, and I'm finished with this project. So now I gotta take apart the face of the radio, fix the 2 or 3 LEDs that are burnt out on there, and get that all back together. So we'll go ahead and take the face off. Same bolts like the nav on the side. Release the little clips at the bottom. Just on the top. Comes right off. So this thing, you'll see it has a little connector right here, and it just goes right into the board on this side. So that's no ribbons, no nothing. So that's pretty straightforward. So just put your radio off to the side, and then this one you gotta just take apart a bunch of screws on the back here, and then take the board out. Oh, I lost all those things. Those are all the diffusers that fell out. Yep, so you get in here, pop the knobs off. There's a rubber that covers everything, so you just pull these through they got all these little white pegs right here. You just push them through or pull them out. So here's the face of the board. As you can tell, this thing is freaking tiny as far as the LED goes. Those things are like the size of ants. So what I ended up doing last time was I took all these apart, but the traces are so thin on them that I damaged some of the traces, so I had to kind of rig it with some extra solder and all that, and I think some of those kind of broke over the years, so my down buttons right now don't light up either one of them. So I'm going to test all the traces all around here and see if there's any issues, and then I'm going to probably just swap those out for new ones and see if they actually still work. And these LEDs, the lower ones, aren't working. I actually plugged this into the car just to double check to see what was really out, and it looks like the ones right below the second one on the up buttons aren't illuminating, so I'm thinking those are all in series. So I'm gonna try to desolder those first, and then I'm gonna check to see if those, actually I'm gonna replace them with new ones, solder in some new ones there, and then I'll see if those, once I resolve those, if the bottom ones come back on. So I put the board in the radio and came out and plugged it into the car just to make sure everything lit up, and it looks like we're good with all the LEDs lighting up. Hopefully this stays robust and it doesn't go anywhere or vibrate loose again, but who knows. I made sure I re-hit some of the suspect solder joints so they had a good connection so we don't have this problem again, but overall looks pretty good now. Overall, the soldering of this board is pretty tedious for the radio. Expect to break a bunch of LEDs that you're trying to put on. You'll notice that each one of the traces or each one of the spots has a little line. The line is going to be the cathode, which is the negative side of the LED. And most of these LEDs have a little black dot that you could kind of see through the lens. And that's what goes on the line side with the line on it. You know, I did only a handful of LEDs, but I probably broke 3 or 4 of them just because when you start heating them up, they get pretty brittle and they just break, so you gotta toss them and get another one. That's why you probably gotta order a couple hundred of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together off camera, get it back in there, get the nav screen all put together, and I'll show you guys in a second how it looks in the car all put back together. Oh yeah, look at how this looks now. So all the navigation area stuff is all blue now. The bottom is still white. My dials or my circle around the knobs are all blue. I've got my little cup holder light that I had added there. Overall, looks pretty good. I mean, it's hard to catch on camera just because of the way it is, but it is a pretty deep looking blue and it matches my knobs that I've had over the years. The bottom's white and all my buttons work now and they're all illuminated, which they were out before. So this looks pretty stinking good. I mean, I was hesitant to do this all blue back in the day, just because I never really liked it too blue, but it doesn't really look that bad in here anymore because I've been so used to the white that it's a little change up. I'm pretty happy with it now with the new soldering iron I use. All the joints are nice and tight now, so I don't think that any of these are going to go out on me anytime soon. So they should last for the rest of the life of this car. Hey guys, thanks for joining me all the way to end this video on this new project that I just did for the, well, it's not a new project, it's an old project. If you guys are interested in doing this project, check out the description box below. I'm going to list all the parts you need, the quantity of LEDs you need, and links to all the different LEDs that you could buy on Amazon or on eBay to get all this done, along with the tools I use. In addition, since you guys all watched all the way to the end, I've got a little giveaway to do. If you guys saw at the beginning of the video, I was showing you the door cup, the lights in the door cup. Well, I was looking through my box of stuff and it looks like I got a bunch of these laying around. These were used in a lot of the Lexuses, the GS, the LS, the RX, and I had a bunch of them laying around from over the years of just working on cars and junkyards and stuff. So I decided I'm gonna do a giveaway on these. So all you guys have to do is just leave a comment on this video telling me what you guys have now on your car and if you plan to do this, or do you have the skills to do this, or even attempt any of these LED upgrades. And you know, after we hit about 2,000 views on this video, I'll go ahead and give this to one lucky winner. I know for sure it works on the 2IS. I'm not sure if the 3IS has the same door cups. At least if you're a 2IS owner and you win these, you could do a little upgrade on your car. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys haven't subscribed to your channel already, go ahead and subscribe to your channel to stay on top of all my different projects that I do around the house on my IS250, my IS300, my Sienna, or anything else I'm doing around the house. So thanks for watching and I'll talk to you guys next time.